Hey there, and welcome back to another homegrown makeup tutorial. I am Bug Catcher Kate, and tonight we're going to do something that I have just recently started experimenting with. I'm going to do a look using only one pigment, one color. This can be done in a really subtle way or a really bold way, depending on what color you use. I'm going to be doing something a little more bold and a little outside of my normal comfort zone. I'm going to be using a really nice blue to complement part of the floral pattern on this hoodie here. So as per usual, I'm going to my favorite palette, the Lime Crime Venus 2 palette. There's a really gorgeous kind of sky blue, somewhere between a sky and a cornflower blue. That's the one that we're going to be using tonight. So like I said, if you want to use this technique, but don't want to do a blue or something so bold, go ahead and grab something a little more subtle. If you want to do a glamorous look, you can still do something like a gold or something with a shimmer, something kind of like Fly here, or something more extreme. You could even do this boot here, which has some pretty, pretty big purple sparkles in it. But as I said, we're going to be using this blue, which is called Filter. And I'm going to start with this rounded brush. I've got two brushes I'm going to be working with tonight. I've got this larger, kind of fluffier brush and this smaller rounded brush. Fluffier brushes are great for blending, but I want to just lay down some pigment to get started, so I'm going to start with that round brush. Now I'm just going to brush it across here. I don't want to put in too much pressure because if I push too hard, I'm going to pick up way too much color and it's going to get everywhere. So you can see that it's just about on half of the brush, just on that top portion. And for this look, typically I would do something like a dark color in the crease and then have a corresponding color here and then maybe a highlight color here using, 3 to 5 different colors. But for this one, since I'm just using the blue, I'm going to be doing a spot of color at the corner of my eyes on the bottom, and then go ahead and have that kind of at the tip of the crease there where my eyeliner will also be for the top of the lid. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and just place it into the corner using the edge of my hand, of my pinky, to rest on my face. I'm going to just brush it very lightly towards about the middle of my eye. I don't want to go all the way over because I'm not trying to look like I've got blue all the way across. I'm just having two little points of it on both of my eyes to draw attention to the blue in the sweatshirt. So that's actually pretty much exactly how I want to start it. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a nice little brush across there without too much pressure. Start in the corner and pull to about the center. If you're not sure how to find the center, you can look straight ahead and lie a brush across where your pupil is, and you can see that I stopped a little short of that on both sides. You can also see that I brought it down a little bit lower on this side. I'm going to go ahead and just match that up real quick by pulling this down a little bit. So I want to make sure that they're fairly even since I don't have any other color that I'm blending it into. So you got to be a little bit more careful with this technique because normally you have an additional color that you can kind of soften those lines with. Since I've only got the one, I do have powder on my skin below as a base for my makeup. So that does help a little bit, but just keep in mind if you want to try this technique, you might want to try with a more subtle color because it might be a little bit frustrating at first, but I know you can do it. Just takes a little bit of practice. So we've got the centers there looking pretty good. Not perfect yet, but we're getting there. I'm going to go ahead and grab some more. Now for this part, I'm going to wet the tip of my brush. You can use water, that's totally cool. I'm going to pick up just a little bit more of that pigment. And it's probably hard to see in the video, but the section that's a little bit darker, you can tell that the bristles are wet there. So I'm going to use that to start this corner. And I really want to make kind of an L shape. Boop, boop. So I'm going to start on the lid there. You can see how much pigment it put down. That's because it's a little bit damp, which is nice. I'm going to draw it across and then pull it up. See, it left just a tiny bit of pigment, so I'm going to keep doing that motion. All right, same thing on the other side. Let the end there grab a little bit of pigment. We're going to start at the inner corner here and move out, and then up, out, and up, out, and up. All right. This is more or less what it's going to look like when it is finished. So you can see that it is subtle in that there's not color all over the eyelids. It's just got a touch of color in the corner to draw the eye across when someone's looking at you. So the next thing I want to do is I want to take that fluffier brush and I want to soften up the edges underneath and up top. So to soften those, you just take the fluffier brush and you're just going to drag it out a little bit. If you did have an additional color there, this would also be what was blending those two together. Pull it out just a little bit more. Whoops. And that just softens those edges up a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing here with the far corner because I want it to have a nice soft look at the edge there. And with this one. Now, because this is still fairly messy and there's not a lot of pigment in the crease, we're going to use the fluffy brush. We're going to wet the end just a little bit. Grab a bit of that pigment. Not a lot on there. And then we're going to dab it into the crease starting from the bottom up to the top just to make sure that some of that pigment deposits into that deeper part of my eyelid. If you have hooded eyelids or a deeper crease, this is going to be especially important for you. Or if you have oily skin, I have really oily skin. The more oily your skin is, the more your makeup is going to kind of smudge. So you want to make sure that you do have that pigment in the crease there. That looks pretty nice. All right, now with the dry side of the brush, I'm going to pick up more of that pigment. And I'm going to do a little bit more along the bottom just to make sure that it is all very saturated. But by using the fluffier brush and without wetting it, it's making sure that it's not going to deposit way too much and make it look ridiculous. So I think that looks very nice. I'm going to blow out my brush to get the dry pigment out. You can also tap it if you'd like. Now I'm going to use the relatively pigment-free brush, and I'm going to sweep from the no pigment section of my lid, this corner, out towards the outer corner to soften up that edge along the bottom. So I'm just going to very gently brush there, not putting very much pressure, because if I put too much pressure it's going to pull a lot of that pigment off. So just going to very lightly do that on both of these. That looks pretty cool. Alright, so this is it. It's really not spectacular. It's not too bold. This is my favorite thing to do if I'm running to the store or if I just want a quick pick-me-up or if I just want to highlight a color in my outfit. I'm very big on complementing colors of my nails and makeup and outfit. So this is pretty much all that I would do for the eyeshadow part. I'm going to go ahead and show you how I would do my mascara and eyebrows and eyeliner as well. In yesterday's video, I showed you this really cool product that I use for my brows. Maybelline Tattoo Studio. It has this felt tip brush that makes these lines. I don't know if you can see that. It occurred to me that none of you are probably going to have that. So I'm going to do something crazy. I'm going to use my rounded brush that I used before. And instead of using my normal eyebrow pencil tool here, I'm just cleaning it off with a piece of paper towel. I'm actually going to use this brush and this brown, which is called Mud, of course, it's beautiful, and use that to fill in my brows because maybe you want to see how to do brows when you don't have that cool tool. So I'm just going to take the dry brush, I'm going to pick up that pigment, not putting too much pressure. I'm I'm going to use the same principles that I would use with the other product. So I'm going to start at the inner corner and I'm going to draw up the same direction that my hairs are growing. And then when I get to this apex here, I'm going to stop. And then I'm going to draw a straight line down on this side and then fill it in from there. So we're going to start here. There's a mirror, hold on. I'm going to just draw it up. Couple strokes. Took a lot of it off of there, and then I'm going to rotate the brush. So I've got the brown facing me again, and I'm going to just draw that straight line down. Alright, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, just grab a little bit of that pigment. And then I'm going to, sorry I blocked the light. We'll just have to block the light on this one. Pull it up. Same direction that my hairs are growing. And then do a line down. And that shows you the basic shape of where you want to fill it in. This color is quite a bit more red than my hair is. So I'm also going to actually add a little bit of this black. I'm going to wet the brush just a little bit because we're going to add just a little bit of detail here to make it look less filled in and more natural. So just a little bit wet. And grab a little bit of that brown and then also a little bit of this darker black color. And then we're going to put a little bit more pressure in these light strokes. So that will give the appearance of hairs, little hairs. You see it kind of soften that edge there. You need a little bit more moisture and a little bit more of that black. You can see it's darker there where it got that damp on there. Alright, there we go. So little strokes. I'm going to do the same thing on this side just to give the appearance of hairs, fill it in a little bit more. Grab a little bit more, you can still see it's damp there. And then do the same thing on this side. Remember, have your bristles facing the same direction so you can pull the same way your hair is growing. And then there's a little bit of a bald spot there, so I'm just going to dab it in. Same with this spot, and then pull down with that darker color. Get a little bit more of the darker color on the dry. Same thing here. And you see that it's not perfect along this upper edge. So what I would normally do for that is I would get something like a foundation brush, or if you don't have that, a little scrap of paper towel or a Q-tip, and you can actually just, following the line of your brow very gently, pull that, and it shouldn't mess up your eyebrow, but you can see it took quite a bit off. So we got that done. Then we're going to go in and do my mascara next. My very favorite mascara that I've been using for as long as I can remember, Maybelline Colossal. We're going to start at the far corner and pull in. It feels very counterintuitive. It's a trick I read and have gone with for years, and it actually does make your lashes look fuller. So I'm just going to check that I don't have too much product on there, make sure it's not too gloopy. And then I'm going to blink and pull up and towards my nose. Blink. What you want to do when you're applying mascara, the biggest thing you want to avoid is getting the little smudgies and little black speckles. The way you avoid that is by making sure you don't get too close to the eyelid, make sure you don't put too much pressure, and make sure you don't put on too much product at once. So these are not done, but I'm going to leave it to set for just a second and switch to the other side. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start at this corner and do in towards the center of my face. Do another one because I missed a spot. Let that dry. I'm going to try to fill in my lower lashes. I'm not great at it. What I typically do for this is just make sure there's not very much product and do a very, very gentle back and forth. Just being really patient because, again, not great at it, and my lower lashes are not super cooperative. So we're just going to nod my face a little too, I guess. Didn't even realize. Same thing on the other side. All right, and then we're gonna get a little bit more, pull it out. If you have too much product, you can do a little swipe. I'm gonna do 2 more coats on each side here. 1, 2, 1, 2. If you have any areas that are clumping really badly, or like over here there's a little bit of a patchy spot, you can use the tip to make sure that those individual lashes are covered. Because what you're really doing is covering your personal lashes in a gloopy substance that makes it look fuller. So if you don't cover all of the lashes, they're obviously not going to get that benefit. So there we go. I think that looks great. All right. Last but not least, on the eyeballs, we're going to do an eyeliner, of course, using NYX Matte Liquid Liner, my favorite eyeliner. I'm going to try to do something a little more subtle because this look altogether is a little bit downplayed, even though we do have that really bright color. So, and it does have a brush tip. Make sure you don't have too much product on there. And I'm going to start at the center and draw a line out, but I don't want to go too far past the edge of my eyelid because I'm trying to keep it a little bit more subtle. So we're just going to start by pulling that over. And that actually stopped exactly where I wanted it to. But before I finish filling this in, I want to go to my left side because I am not left-handed and my left side usually dictates how the other side's got to look. So we're gonna do the same thing, start in the middle and just draw a steady line across. Again, I do use my hand all the time rested on my face to ensure that I'm not too wobbly because I don't have the most sturdy hand. Start in the middle and just pull it across. Not bad. Wanted to make sure I didn't go too far over. So now I'm going to just fill in the gap there between the edge of the eyeliner and my lid. This is going to give it a pretty pronounced cat eye without having to go too far out. So I'm going to use this to block in case I miss. And I'm just going to pull in very slowly. Nice. So it gives that fuller appearance at the edge here. Makes your lashes look fuller because it's darker at that edge. I'm going to do the same thing and try to make sure that they're the same height. So I'm going to fill in where my lash line starts and where the eyeliner stopped. Since this one's up a little bit higher, I'm going to go ahead and draw an additional line to bring this one up just a little bit higher. Too high. That's all right. We'll just very gently fill it in. And that's why it's important that I didn't go too far out because that mistake way over here would have made me have to do this. And now I'm actually just going to fill in the bottom there that I was going to leave open because it'll match. So again, ta-da, using this hand to make sure I don't go all cattywomps on my non-dominant side. Now I've got a little bit of a clump here, so I'm going to take my mascara brush again, wipe the product off of it, and just very gently going to blink and pull it in towards the center. And then I'm going to shake my brush while it's close to the root to kind of separate those. I'm going to do the same thing on this side to make sure they are just as full, but since they're already separated nicely, I want to make sure they don't clump. So shake the brush a little. I like this. This is really fun. I think this is cute. To finish the look, I would do a little bit of blush. So grab your fluffy brush. I've got NYX Professional Makeup Sweet Cheeks Matte. It's kind of a nice rose, kind of a peachy rose. I'm going to start at the apples of your cheeks and pull up and out. Get a little bit more. Excuse me. All right, and to make sure that it doesn't look so stark, you can flip the brush over to the side that doesn't have all the blush on it and just pull around the edges like we did with the blue to make sure that it's very soft and doesn't have that harsh line. All right, well, that's about it. I think that's a wrap. Thank you for watching. As I said, I'm not going to be doing daily videos, but you know, when the inspiration hits, I will try to take a minute to grab a video and then take all that additional time to get it onto YouTube. So thanks for watching, and hope you are enjoying the new year. Bye.